team fucking hat.
Give me shit. Give me some shit.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast, presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. Quick shout out to Dan at DC4L Custom Tees. You'll notice in the your upper right-hand corner, in the corner of Mr. Scarpino there, we have a new logo. Dan did that, and it's fantastic. I love it. And, of course, there are shirts and hoodies, and you know you got to get one.
Sure.
In fact, I'll be giving a few away to people that have been commenting a lot since we've been on the YouTubes and stuff. So I'll be hitting you up out there. Anyway, Steelers are just a couple days away from preseason action. So we're very excited about that. Start actually talking some real football here. And you'll notice Ian is with us, but his youngest is giving him some troubles right now and not wanting to go to sleep. So he's going to chime in whenever he can. And go from there. But, okay, preseason game, guys, and welcome aboard. Good to see you all. And I'm going to ask you a question, and you cannot answer, I don't want there to be any bad injuries, because that's typically what people would say when I ask this question. What are you looking for on Saturday night, Ryan Scarpino? What's one thing you're looking for on Saturday night?
May as well be a fucking Ravens fan.
I'm already getting shit because of the Orioles hat.
Wearing the Orioles hat.
All right. Listen, I'm a Pirates fan. The Orioles have sucked just as equally as long. They're doing pretty good this year. I got this hat, I don't know, probably like 10 years ago or something. Anyway.
Classic look.
Doesn't always mean I like the city or the team. I do like hats. Anyway, And I told you guys I was going to unleash hell on Steelers Twitter tonight, so we have about an hour to do so. But I think we need to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
And that's the offensive line.
Okay.
I don't care who is playing on the defensive line for the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's their first team. I don't care if it's their 16th team. I don't give a shit. I want to see some ass kicking. We've talked about it on the show. There's a lot of optimism among Steelers fans about this offense, and I'm just not seeing it. Besides Najee, there's a lot of question marks.
Mm-hmm.
And especially on the offensive line. Kevin Dotson is not going to play this week, which means Kendrick Green's probably going to start. And we know Kendrick Green did not have the best year at center last year. He probably shouldn't even been there. I want to see what the offensive line does. I'm not saying that they have to be great. I just want to see some physicality.
Okay. That's a very good, valid point. I love it. I think we'd all like to see a little aggressiveness, physicality. I'm down with it. Ben, question is, what are you looking for on Saturday night?
I'm looking for synchronization in the passing game. I want to see a developed relationship between the wide receivers and the quarterbacks.
Do you expect to see that?
I expect it to be a little sloppy first preseason game. I expect there to be some gaffes. I expect them to try some things because it's preseason. They'll try some things they may not ordinarily try just to see how they work. I mean, that's what you do. That's what these games are for.
Yep.
So I don't expect it to be crisp. I just want to see something encouraging there because the Steelers are really loaded at the skill positions, not named quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if they're gonna have even a, let's say, top 15 offense this year, they're going to have to rely upon the passing game to stretch the field. They're going to have to. They can't do what they did last year, dink and dunk, and have Najee running against 9-man boxes.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
The way to get those DBs out of the box is a deep threat. Even a 15-yard slant would keep them out of the box. Okay?
Wait, you're saying we're allowed to throw over the middle of the field?
Yeah.
What?
Yes. So even that would help him, and it'll help the offensive line consequently. I mean, they didn't do great last year regardless, but they also had the deck stacked against them, and so did Najee. They got to get Najee to the second level and get him out in space. Just at least get him to the linebackers. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you can make somebody miss rather than making a linebacker miss in the backfield. And the way to do that, in my opinion, is through the passing game. If the passing game can be at least respectable, it will keep those DBs out of the box.
I think the key word is respectable. We talked about it for I don't know how many years on this show where we talked about we don't need amazing. We just need respectable. We just need efficient and effective at times, and we haven't seen that. It's got to happen. Ian, so I'll throw that question to you. And Ken, you can't answer. I don't want to see any injuries. Everybody knows that we don't want to see any injuries. What are you looking for on Saturday night versus the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah, so 3 things specifically, since I'm not allowed to say what everybody else said.
Okay.
I will add running back depth because we know what we have in Najee. Najee could play 0 snaps in the preseason and be fine in the regular season. I mean, maybe there's some timing because there's some new offensive linemen in front of him, but he'd be fine, right? But behind him, we really don't know. I mean, Benny Snell kind of is what he is at this point. Anthony McFarland really hasn't played a whole lot, so we kind of see the college tape, know some of the hype, but haven't seen it actually happen.
Third teamers.
Oh yeah.
It was great against third teamers. So.
And then there's a couple other running backs that have kind of Jalen Warren been playing really well in camp. So let's see what we got there.
Jalen Warren actually I would love to see that. That's a great point.
We would. And we're going to run the ball a lot because it's a preseason game. We want to wind some clock. We're not going to throw it all over the yard.
Great point.
So I want to see some depth in the running back position that is actually able to move the chains and get some first downs. Because really, if you want to evaluate the offensive line, if you want to evaluate the quarterbacks, if you want to evaluate quarterback timing with wide receivers, the offense has to be on the field. And they can't be on the field if they're going 3 and out every time. So you need some running back depth to actually be able to kind of push things down the field a little bit. Flipping to the other side of the ball, since both Ben and Ryan talked about offense, we had I don't know if, I know you guys know this, but I don't know if everyone knows this, that we had the 32nd ranked run defense in the league last year. And
really? You don't say.
Yeah. And
I think I recall talking about that once.
I heard it was bad.
We may have. Yeah. And somehow they didn't spend any of their first 3 picks or first 2 picks. No, they picked Leal in the 3rd round. But they didn't address that in the first 2 rounds of the draft and really didn't do much in free agency until they signed Larry Ogunjobi fairly late. Which yes, he is an asshole and he's good. But that I will admit.
They like him.
He's our asshole
like
now. It's like when the Penguins had Matt Cook. He was an asshole, but we liked him because he was our asshole. So yeah. But I want to see an improved run defense and across the board depth wise, Seattle's going to run the ball a lot too. I want to see Loudermilk making plays. I want to see Adams, winning at the point of attack. I want to see Carlos Davis, all those guys making plays in run defense. And then thirdly, the thing that I always look for in preseason games is who's making tackles on special teams, because those last few roster spots always come down to who can play special teams. So keep an eye out for who's making those special teams tackles, because they're the ones that are going to start moving themselves up the depth chart, because they're the ones, inching closer to hey, this guy is actually getting down there and doing things on teams.
I'm going to give you guys a name, and this is somebody I would watch because he's going to have to perform both on offense and on teams to make this team. Miles Boykin. If he can show that he can be a very good special teamer, $2.5 million is not that big a deal. But if he cannot be that guy, if he does not demonstrate that ability, and he's just a kind of a mediocre, long receiver, they're not going to keep him. They've got too much depth at wide receiver.
Ben, if they do keep him, that means they would be keeping 6 then, right?
Yeah, it also means Gunnar Olszewski would be gone.
So who would be the 5th guy they keep then?
I think he's saying Boykin over Olszewski.
Oh, I see.
Damn.
Okay.
Olszewski, is that his name?
Yeah,
whatever.
Gunnar Olszewski.
Oh, it was Olszewski.
Well,
What, I want him to say his name when he makes the team.
Well, the one thing I was going to say that I'm paying attention to, and Ian alluded to it, was special teams. And it's hard because so many of these guys that we're going to see for the first 3 games of preseason, the only 3 games, they're not all going to be there. And so your special teams units are kind of a mismatch right now. But Presley Harvin, I want to see a little bit of consistency out of him. And no, that's not going to happen in just one game, but you'd like to see it start somewhere. And then I'm curious as to what they do in the return game. Is it just going to be, gifted over to Gunnar Olszewski? Do they really like what Calvin Austin's doing? I think it's going to be fascinating. So that's
Austin's so tiny.
I saw a picture today. You guys might have seen it. Monica Loudon, she's a great friend of the site, and she buys more shirts from Dan at DC4L. In fact, I was joking with her. I told her her husband's going to have to build her a whole new garage just for DC4L shirts. But she was at camp today and took a photo of George Pickens standing next to Austin. Now, Pickens is a pretty big guy, first of all. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it as bad as the Derrick Henry, Dion Lewis picture?
It looked just like that. I mean, if you go to Instagram and Monica Loudon, Louden, she probably doesn't like me saying her name on there, but that's okay. You'll see it, and you'll just immediately go, "Oh my God, is he small?" And it's what we've seen, it's what we've heard. It's not a shock, but when you see, right next to another guy, it's just like, wow. But be that for another discussion. Mike Tomlin did, in fact, say today that Mitchell Trubisky is going to get the start, which definitely means, as we've been suggesting all along, all 3 quarterbacks are likely to play in this game and probably all 3 games of the preseason. Ryan, right move with Trubisky. I think it's the right move. My question to you is, how long does he play him?
Yeah, it sounded like first team will be first quarter, second team will be second quarter, halfway through the third, and then the third team will be fourth quarter.
Okay.
It's pretty standard for Tomlin teams, but I'll say this: we were talking about what we're looking for in this first game.
Mm-hmm.
Tomlin didn't rule anybody out today, but from what the guys said to the media. Like Kevin Dotson's not going to play. I think Benny Snell's hurt. Chase Claypool has had an issue. So is Freiermuth. Montravius Adams, I believe, has had an issue. So I really think there's going to be a lot of different pieces, which is fine. This is why it's preseason. So that being said, this is just me, and I have no idea, but I don't think Claypool's going to play. I don't think Deontay Johnson's going to play. I don't know if Muth is going to play. So if Mitch is out there with Pickens and Calvin Austin and Miles Boykin,
Anthony Miller.
So that's the other thing too. We forget about Anthony Miller, forget about Steven Sims, and those guys have played in this league. So has Gunnar Olszewski. Not to be confused with Jerry Olszewski. I'm not on my game tonight. Anyway, my point is especially with this game, take things with a grain of salt, but also you'll clearly see a guy or multiple guys caught in that moment. So if what I want to see from Trubisky is I don't want to see any dumb mistakes. Like Ben talked about earlier, a little synchronicity. I don't want to see any pre-snap penalties. I don't want to see any just any dumb plays. I don't care if they don't move the ball, but I just want to see some sort of smoothness to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So again, we all know what Mitch Trubisky can do. We also know what he can't do, but don't get too high or low based on the people that are available with him.
So what you're saying is that because Malik Willis looked decent tonight against the Ravens, that we should all jump on the bandwagon that says we screwed up by not taking him.
Ratbirds.
No. But I would say, and I've said this on the show, that I think long term, I think Malik Willis was a boomer bust. But
Yeah.
I would rather have that than have a ceiling that Kenny Pickett is going to give you.
Yeah, and we all said that before the draft. We all
Yeah.
said if you take Malik Willis, you're swinging for the fences, and if you take Kenny Pickett, you're doing the safe pick.
Yeah, and my point is simply that it did not take people very long on Steelers Twitter to start in with that crap.
Well, I mean,
because
listen,
a lot of people preferred him over Pickett. I mean,
right, but to sit there and watch a preseason game for a quarter, the first preseason game, we should have taken Willis. I mean, slow down.
That's the nature of social media. Though.
I know.
We don't just
Doesn't mean
react.
Get off my lawn.
George Pickens is already the greatest wide receiver of all
he's
time.
In the Hall of Fame, dude. He's going to be better than Jerry Rice.
He's so good that they're going to waive the 5-year period to get you into Canton. Like he's actually going in right now.
His number is going to not be 14. It's going to be 82, 84, 88. Just because they're going to wipe out all three of our best receivers at once. Just get rid of all because he's that good.
And 86.
Well, of course. No disrespect.
Everybody's fucking sleeping on Hines.
I love Hines. He's one of my favorites,
man.
What can I tell you? Quarterback stuff, Ben. I mean, Ryan did a good job of covering some things there. I mean, obviously, you don't want to see mistakes. You don't want to see pre-snap penalties, things like that. It's the preseason. You're going to have some mental errors and stuff. But, I mean, I know what you expect from Rudolph. What do you think you're going to see from Pickett going against third-teamers?
Okay, here's the caveat.
Mm-hmm.
I expect him to make third-teamers look pretty bad if the offensive line doesn't get him killed. Our third-team offensive line ain't good. So, he's going to be working at a disadvantage. Now, It depends. That he may, Tomlin's played starters late in preseason games. It wouldn't be a shock to see that happen. What's going on with Dotson, Ryan? I didn't know this was even a thing.
He's had it. I don't know the actual injury. I don't even know if you have to. You don't even have to disclose it.
No,
you don't have to disclose it yet.
There's a lot of guys with the bumps and bruises.
Yeah, and I think it's easier. It reminds me of hockey when they're like upper body, lower body, whatever. But I know Dotson told 93.7 The Fan today. I think it was Jeff Hathorn. By the way, if Jeff Hathorn is listening, wonderful human being, one of the hardest working people in the business.
It's good to hear good things about somebody in the Pittsburgh media.
Listen. Pittsburgh media are good people. If you're listening out there, stop giving Mark Cabali shit, and just because he says a good thing about Mason Rudolph. But yeah, Kevin Dotson.
Ryan's also a huge Mark Madden fan.
I don't dislike Double M. I just it's just
Chrissy loves him. I'll tell you right now. She does.
There are just some Pittsburgh media that are a lot.
Absolutely.
Like Madden.
He's
playing a persona. That persona is a dick.
Come on, Ian, jump in with your Pitt Bayless take here.
Oh no, that's funny.
But anyway, back to Dotson. He's something lingering, but I look at that as a good opportunity for Kendrick Green. I'm not saying he's gonna start, but
I agree.
That helps. That honestly, that helps Kendrick Green.
The more snaps that Green can get against good competition at guard, the better for the team.
Yes.
So
and it lets us know if we have anything there. I mean, who is? Oh gosh, this is going back to probably during Ryan's time with the team. There was some kid we drafted out of like Tennessee in the 5th round, and he wound up starting a couple preseason games for us, and was at guard. And he was terrible. Chris Scott, he was terrible, and they were like,
man.
"All right."
I love draft, dude. If you were like a 4th round pick or later, we were always good. Like you were just happy to be there. There were no bullshit, no issues.
My broader point is
Chris Scott was so cool.
My broader point is Chris Scott started a few preseason games and they realized he wasn't good enough to cut it, and that was that. But like, this is the time to try that out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
week 6 against the Ravens is not the time to try that out. Like, it's preseason, it's
point.
practice. Like,
Absolutely.
it's a good chance to see if Kendrick Green can play guard. So I agree. This is a good opportunity for Green.
I don't
just good evaluation.
If Kendrick Green comes out tomorrow night and lays an egg and is horrible, I don't see them cutting him or anything. And
no,
I do think, though, again, long term, getting that experience, getting it back at guard will help him. And if he starts the game, he'll be playing against good competition, and he'll be playing against guys he doesn't know, which makes it harder. So this only benefits him, which benefits the team.
So whatever.
I was just going to say, Ryan, with Green, you're going to get effort, you're going to get attitude, you're going to get some aggressiveness. I mean, those are the things that were never a question. You just, what are you going to get from the standpoint of his overall ability, his technique, and things like that? And that's what it boils down to. And what it also boils down to is the fact that we are proudly sponsored by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. Deck serves Broward in the Southern Palm Beach counties, whether commercial, industrial, residential, multi-family, or condos. Contact Deck Roofing today by visiting deckroofing.com. Yeah. I got to tell you, I don't think it was a surprise for any of us guys, but there are some players, when you see them get cut, they're waived, it still sucks. And I think that was the case with Ulysses Gilbert. I think he
did clear waiver, so he reverted back to the IR. But
he did.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw that today.
There's going to be an injury settlement, and that's going to be that.
I agree. It's, the kid had some ability. They loved his speed. He just could not stay healthy.
Yeah. And he was productive at times when he was healthy.
Yes.
In those brief moments.
Yep.
That's the thing. And that's why they kept him around for so long that, it seemed like it was worth it.
Well, I bring him up because of that, obviously, but also the fact that, we're pretty thin inside linebacker right now.
Are we?
I don't think
I think it's one of our deepest positions.
Inside linebacker, really?
Yeah.
I see Spillane, I see Jack, I see Devin Bush.
I don't like the first
Buddy
three.
Johnson.
Buddy Johnson is coming along.
Buddy Johnson, everything I've seen, everything I've heard, he's all downhill, which is great.
Yeah.
But he can't cover anybody.
Yeah. I mean, we've got 6 guys that are capable of making the roster at inside linebacker.
The Robinson kid, I think from A&M, like Buddy is.
No, Buddy's from A&M. Robinson was from Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, okay.
But yeah, we've got Devin Bush, Miles Jack, Robert Spillane, Marcus Allen, who's somehow still around,
unbelievable.
Buddy Johnson, and Mark Robinson. So I mean, that's 6 guys that are capable of making this roster. I think
Mark Robinson, I've heard, is having himself
a nice camp.
Not quite George Pickens Hall of Fame yet, but
yeah, but it's going to happen for sure.
Well, But you guys really see that as a deep position? When I think depth, I think guys that can go in and play
better than outside linebacker.
I would say
no argument.
It's very even. If Spillane and Bush were better, it'd be a deep position. Let's just put it that way.
No question.
All right.
I totally agree.
If those 2 guys at the top of the depth chart were better, it'd be a much deeper room. The fact that they are not as good as we had hoped, and obviously, I mean, Devin Bush, for being a top 10 pick, has been a disappointment thus far. I hope he redeems himself this season. We'll see what happens. But I mean, there's some uncertainty there. So that's I think that is the hesitation that people have with that position. It's the starters. It's not the guys behind them. It's not the depth. The depth is okay. It's the guys at the top of the depth chart.
So almost like an accordion. They're kind of all bunched in there together, so to speak. Is that a good?
I mean,
it's very even. There's not enough separating the first group from the second and third groups.
Kind of like quarterback.
Yeah, kind of like quarterback. Mediocre as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's and knock on wood, but we all know the three guys that if they got hurt, it would you can't replace. You can't replace Cam, TJ, and Minka, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's concerning because I feel that other teams are built like look at the Ravens, right? And I fucking Baltimore.
Yeah. We knew that was coming.
But look at the Ravens last year. All these injuries, next man up, and I know that's been the Steelers' mantra, but that has not worked in a while, okay? But look at the Ravens last year. Injuries on offense, injuries on defense. Almost. And I know almost only counts whatever. But to me, the Steelers, they have the depth, but I don't have the faith in the depth. But
the Ravens won 7 games last year and came in last in our division.
If they beat the Steelers,
they lost their last 6, right?
But they were in first place at one point.
They were.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they were terrible all year.
Okay, so they were in first place. They had a bunch of injuries, and the next man up couldn't win a bunch of games, and so they came in last.
But the point being is, if the Steelers were in a similar position, I don't know if they would win that many games.
If the Steelers were winning a lot of games early in the season, they would have finished with a much better record. But anyway.
All right.
No, I think Ryan's point is though that let's take cornerback for instance, right? Which is a position that take Lamar Jackson and the quarterback position out of it because that's completely different.
Sure.
Look at the Ravens defense. Look at how many cornerbacks they had get injured, and they got beat up in the passing game a bit last year, right? But also remember back. Oh man, remember that year we went to play in Dallas and we started 2 guys who were on the street the week before at cornerback to play against Des Bryant
and we lost. It was awful.
Yeah, and
Josh
Austin.
Josh it's definitely Josh.
Yeah.
There was one guy we started for 3 games who was literally 5'2". He would be in good position, but the guys would just make catches over him the entire game. And it was I don't remember his name. That was before the Antoine Blake disaster too. I mean, this was that we had just we just had so many injuries that year at cornerback that there's only so much you can overcome.
Absolutely.
But for a while, I mean, the Ravens, I think to Ryan's point that the Ravens have had enough depth at that cornerback position or safety or inside linebacker or whatever that if one guy gets hurt, they plug somebody else in and they can just keep running their system and it's a system thing and it works. Whereas, I think to Ryan's point with us that a guy like Minka back there, he has the ability to read the field and freelance to an extent that somebody else doesn't. And just doesn't have that natural instinct and the ability to understand what's happening and do it before it even happens. That you're going to see a drop off if Minka goes down.
Josh Victorian was his name.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So all right, so getting back to my point is that other teams don't have 3 other teams don't have a Minka, Cam, and TJ. That's just not the way it is. A team like the Ravens doesn't have those type of players. Maybe they do, but they don't have a TJ Watt, right?
Corners.
Yeah, some good corners.
Okay, but it's okay. But when who fucking Tyus Bowser or whoever on the edge goes down,
right?
It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter
as much, right?
Right. So going back to inside linebacker for us, if Devin Bush sucks again, fine. Put Bobby Spillane, me and Bobby McGee, Bobby Spillane in there, or Buddy Johnson. Buddy guy. I don't give a shit who. But the point is if there is one position on the Steelers, then I'm not too worried about defense is inside linebacker. I've convinced myself that Devin Bush is what it is.
Right.
And if he sucks, it's what it is.
I don't think he sucks. I think he's very mediocre, and I think that Miles Jack is going to look like a superstar by comparison. And the part that sucks about all of this is that they traded way up to take Devin Bush, and it just isn't
I
working.
think they used a pick that they got from the AB trade. I think, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
They traded more
No,
than that. They went from 20 to 10.
Or that was one of the two.
it was a first and a second that they traded, but like Denver made stupid picks with them. So
Yeah.
Wouldn't we agree though that maybe he wasn't living up to the number 10 overall status, but he was pretty damn good before the injury.
Oh, he was fine. He was always in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, this has been something very much injury related. It's whether it's in his head, I don't know. It's an awful place to be for this kid. I feel for him if that's what it is. But
Me too.
and I guess the way I was looking at the inside linebacker depth is I know what Robert Spillane's going to do. I know what he can offer, and I know he can be better if that front 3 or 4 is better for sure compared to what we saw last year.
Yeah, that'll definitely help. The
It'll be
defensive
huge
line
for him.
improvements would be a huge improvement
Mm-hmm.
for these inside linebackers, and we've talked about the improved depth along
Yeah.
the defensive line. They're gonna cut some guys along the defensive line this year that can play in this league.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
And they're gonna, they're gonna get caught up in the numbers game. Even if they keep 7 defensive linemen, which they rarely ever do, they're still going to cut some guys that can play in this league and that have played for the Steelers.
Let's dive
that's
into
like-
that.
We've been in that position before. Who was that guy who we all liked in the preseason the one year, and then went to Arizona and like carved out a really nice career for himself?
Oh, the kid at defensive end
From Stanford,
Morrow.
Josh Morrow.
Josh Morrow.
Yeah.
Josh Morrow.
He's still in the league. I mean, that was
still
playing.
I looked at that was 2014. He was in our
Mhm.
training camp and got cut.
Yeah,
And,
they were hoping to be able to stash him back on the practice squad. It just didn't happen.
Yeah,
No.
but that's a 7-year NFL career he's carved out for himself.
You know who else still plays? Nick Williams.
Yeah, there's a name in the past.
7th round pick,
Yeah.
2013 from
Well,
Sanford.
That was a time too when Arizona was notoriously Pittsburgh West.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they
Yeah,
were
it was.
literally taking everybody that we would let go. Let me dive into the defensive line real quick again, but before I do
drinking
that, let
German
me
beer, brother?
remind what?
You drinking German beer?
Yeah, I don't know. Leffe? I don't know.
Leffe.
Move it
Sounds
over.
Hispanic.
We can see.
I don't know.
I don't
there we
know.
go.
I have no idea. You're
Lafitte.
fancy.
Man, that is
Lafitte.
way too fancy for this show.
It says blonde on it.
Did
Oh.
the girlfriend buy it? Or did you buy it?
I think
wife bought
this might be a fiance beer.
It's Belgian actually, not
Belgian.
German.
It's
Yeah.
Belgian. It's fancy as
Yeah,
fuck.
we
nice
drink it in
horses,
Belgium. It's called a Belgian dip.
Real quick, as part of the Pigskin Podcast Network, we are very happy to be joined up with DraftKings Sportsbook. And right now, the next generation of fantasy sports is here. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now. Sign up with promo code TPPN. Click the Rainmakers tile and opt in to get your first card free. Plus, play for millions of prizes all football season while building the ultimate NFT fantasy franchise with Rainmakers Football. That's promo code TPPN. Build, play, win only at DraftKings. I checked this out on the
still
app.
playing for a long and left
Kinda
the
cool.
Steelers a while ago and still is having a career anyway.
What's that?
Kevin Beacham.
Yeah,
Yeah,
starting for the Jets.
Yeah.
No, he's in Arizona. And
All right. Yes, I'm sorry.
I want to
Yes.
say he's in his 11th year.
Oh,
and
it's
this
got to
guy,
be double digits.
He was a compensatory 7th round
Yep.
pick. That's
Yep.
basically undrafted.
Did he start as a rookie?
Yes, by
He started
necessity.
some games as by necessity. And
Yeah,
That's what I
because
thought.
They
because
had
Mike
him
Adams
at-
sucked.
Yeah, they
And
had
so
him at
they-
left tackle and
Sorry.
He
left tackle
wasn't.
and center.
He wasn't quite the Dan Moore situation, but he did have to play.
He came
Yeah.
in at center one game because he was like our emergency third string center. That
Mhm.
was the year that Pouncey got hurt,
Right.
and then
Oh, God.
they had to play somebody else, and Beacham had was that the Fernando Velasquez
You know
year
what?
too?
Yep.
Yeah,
No,
And-
you are right. He started 5 games as a rookie in 2012.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was later.
yeah.
Man, that's incredible.
bad.
It's a nice career for him.
He's had a
Um,
great career. He's a great off the field guy too.
I
Yeah.
do
Isn't-
feel like sometimes
Undersized
when
left tackle.
when not just the Steelers, but when teams double dip at a position in the draft, a lot of times the second guy they take ends up being better than the first guy.
You talking about like Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders?
There's one example. I mean, Beachum and Mike Adams were the same year. Here's another one for you. RG3 and Kirk Cousins. I'm just saying that
that's right.
I feel like there's a decent number of examples that when teams double dip at a position in the draft,
you're correct.
The second guy winds up being better. But Ben's right. Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders, same draft year. Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders
had a pretty nice career though.
Yeah.
He's still in the league.
Emmanuel Sanders is and he's super talented. He's
Yeah.
also a complete jackass.
Well,
That never happens a wide receiver though. Ever.
No.
Emmanuel Sanders is not a jackass. What are we
they're
talking about here?
angels. Total angels.
He's a jackass.
How is Emmanuel Sanders a jackass?
Scarps, did you have like
The things he says and does.
Yeah, he's very mean to certain people on his former team. Very mean.
What am I missing here?
Oh
you
man,
missed it?
he had some things to say about 7.
He has some
I'll
things to
stand
say
for
about
that.
Ben, and whatever. It's a personal thing. The fact that he took it
Because he
public-
said that Peyton Manning is better
Right.
than Ben, and
No,
Peyton Manning actually gives a shit and studies.
he
That's
said a
what
lot.
pissed you off.
Oh, here comes
He's done a lot
Kalali.
more than just that.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway,
Emmanuel Sanders is
but
not
I'm
as
setting aside the thing between he and Ben because obviously they didn't like each other. All right, we've all had people that we worked with that we didn't like. Did we take that shit public?
we should.
Why?
No, I mean, but if he's asked the question, I don't think did he ever even say Ben's name or did he just say Peyton's?
It was
I don't care.
what he
I mean,
was saying,
it
but
was pretty
I
clear
don't.
exactly what he was saying. I just didn't see any point in doing it. It seemed petty and ridiculous. You've moved on. You're doing your thing. Great. You're happy. Good for you. By the way, the situation I'm in now is so much better than the one I was in before. This quarterback's way better than that one.
And that's fine.
And that was
All right,
when
Emmanuel
Peyton had a fucking
Sanders.
noodle arm, and
Emmanuel Sanders
has been a jackass to multiple media members. A lot like some other players we've known that have come through the Steelers, so I shouldn't probably put this out there, but has cheated on his wife multiple times and made it public, and nobody fucking cared. He didn't care. All right? Not a good person.
Turned into
Okay?
a Dr. Phil
Just
show.
saying it straight up.
I mean, if he was more of an asshole, he'd be Antonio Brown. All right, fine.
No, you're right.
You didn't tweet nearly as well.
Listen,
I'm going to tweet that. Actually, I'm going to take that out of
No,
this one.
please don't.
I'm going to
No,
tweet it, and I'm going to add AB with that.
no,
That's
wait,
So
funny.
he can respond
Emmanuel-
with trade and find out.
yeah,
Did
trade
you-
me,
did
let's
you have-
find out. Don't forget.
Ryan, did you have some good moments with Emmanuel?
I had good moments with AB too. AB was there longer. It's just AB was acting like a fucking a turd on the sidelines. He was throwing a tantrum. That's why I tweeted it. But Emmanuel Sanders has 700 career receptions, 9,200 yards, 51 touchdowns. I'm not saying
good
that's
player.
Hall of Fame, but
Good player.
it's pretty damn good.
He's a good player. No
Better
question.
than what I did in the NFL.
You know?
Yeah.
No, but I never had a problem with Emmanuel or AB. I just, I'm going to say this too. I never had a problem with Ben, but, if you're asked a question and you answer it honestly, and it's not
Who was the guy who
like,
told us to keep it boring? Who was
Huh?
that? Who was the guy who told us to answer?
but
those
there's
questions to
a
keep it
difference
boring?
between
Derek
making
Jeter.
there's a difference between making predictions and projections versus when someone asks you about your time somewhere. So if I said, Ben, how much, how many receptions you gonna have this year, and you say 885, but I said, hey Ben, how was your former team? How'd you enjoy playing for them? And you're like, you know what, it sucked. I'd be like, okay.
Why say it?
Well,
I
think
to me, the correct answer there to not make it a thing is to just say, that was a good situation for me, but in the end, this one's better. And so I moved on.
Is that a generational thing? I mean, because my
It's a
son's
wide
going-
receiver thing. Let's be honest.
Well, that's very true.
There's just something about the wide receiver position that just breeds shitheads.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no denying it. But
I think he could have.
yeah.
I think he could have just said, I appreciate my time in Pittsburgh, but now I'm here in Denver, and then could have just ranted and raved about Peyton, because we all know Peyton's a brainiac, and like everything he said about Peyton we already knew. But you're right, he did say it about that Ben didn't do this, but anybody that knew Ben knew that.
And I don't really care about that whole thing between he and Ben. I wasn't even referring to that. I was referring to, again,
a lot of the other stuff.
Multiple run-ins with the media. Okay. I'm talking about shit that's happened. No, shit that's happened since he left.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was pretty cool when he was here.
And again, him being challenged about the fact that he wasn't a very good husband, and he said, "Okay, yeah, I wasn't, but I've gotten better about that." Well, so you're basically telling us on TV, no less, that you used to fuck around on your wife, but you don't anymore. Well, good for you. I'm like, let me give you a big pat in the back for being a good person now.
Who asked him that question?
I can't even fucking remember.
Because that, to me, why does that matter at this point? I want to know about football. I want to know about what
I hear what you're saying, and the question was a bit out of bounds.
To
me.
Right. Unless he brought it up first, I just think you don't go there.
It was, it was Super Bowl week. And I can't remember who asked him the question.
Wow.
I thought it was a shitty question.
Yeah.
I thought the response was, dude, your wife is going to kill you when she hears this, and I don't blame her.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder what we're constantly looking for these gotcha moments, and I instead of just sticking to what, as they say, stick to football or shut up and dribble, that kind of stuff. I want to go back to the defensive line because we've talked a lot in our general discussions and stuff on Slack and everything about the fact that they could keep 7. I think we've all agreed that they're
no 7 retired. He's gone.
Oh, that's 7. Yes, thank you.
Until Mason's named the starting quarterback.
That'll be hilarious.
And requests to
and
wear
horrible.
number 7.
It'll be hilarious and horrible all at the same time.
Mason named starting quarterback, and 7 immediately fucking just strolls into the facility.
Now that would be great.
Walks right into the facility.
That would be great. He'd walk in like the old gunslinger.
He's like, so I heard you needed me to come back.
Got his fucking 2 6-shooters. This town ain't big enough for the 2 of us. This has gone completely bonkers tonight. Apologies.
If Mason is named the starting quarterback, the fucking meltdown that will come from Steelers Twitter will be
epic,
simultaneously horrible and hysterical.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, I digress. Let me talk about defensive line.
My fault.
Look, you got Cam.
You got goddamn funny.
Tyson is off the pup. Ogunjobi is with the first team. He's played very well. That's 3 guys right there. You still got Chris Wormley. You still got Isaiah Loudermilk. That's what 5 there. You've obviously got a 3rd-round draft pick this year, DeMar Leal, and you got Montravius Adams. I mean, there's a decent chance. Is it Wormley? Is Wormley on the way out, possibly?
We can hope.
Hey, Chris Wormley's a good pass.
Actually, Wormley had 7 sacks last year, which astounds me that he had 7 sacks.
Chris Wormley is a good passing down player. Let's not discount.
Weren't 6 against the Ravens though?
Well, something like that. Yeah,
I want to say like 4 of them were against the Ravens.
He had like 3.5 in one game.
Yeah. No, I just don't. You're not gonna put Leal on the practice squad. I mean, he's gonna get scooped right up, right?
No, you can't cut him.
You can't.
Yeah, you can't.
They're not gonna cut Leal, and they're not gonna cut Loudermilk. I mean,
they're gonna cut Loudermilk either.
No.
Yeah. So your Henry Mondus, your Carlos Davises,
sure.
Those guys are on the way out. I mean,
they have to be.
And given the way that defense defended the run last year, can you really blame them? Khalil Davis, Doug Costin. Doug Costin is having a very nice camp. For example, the guy who played at the USFL.
Yeah. Yep.
He's having a good camp. he's not going to make the team. I mean, hopefully they'll stick him on the practice squad and stash him away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the other 7 guys you mentioned, I don't see them cutting. Potentially, maybe Wormley, maybe.
See that the back of my head, that's what I'm thinking happens.
I don't know, man. Here's the thing: Wormley's got playing experience. Okay,
He's got
Loudermilk has
experience,
very
he's pretty
limited
smart.
experience.
Yep.
Very limited experience in
Right.
defensive end. DeMarvin Leal has none. So basically, all your depth would be guys that have very little experience.
But
Montravius
you're not-
Adams can only play nose. That's all he does.
But you're not getting rid of Loudermilk. I mean, you traded up for him.
You're not going to get rid of Loudermilk. I
No.
agree. Not in year 2.
No.
You know,
He showed enough last year to stick around. I mean,
I
they've
thought
had
so.
guys that they have drafted that they've kept around. I kind of feel like when the Steelers draft you in the first 5 rounds, 6 and 7's a little different, but the first
Mhm,
5
mhm.
rounds, you're getting at least 3 training camps. Like they kept Brian Allen for 2 years and a 3rd training camp before they finally cut him. Like
Brian Allen was a great athlete, though.
he was, but
didn't
so
have
is
enough
Loudermilk.
coordination to be.
Well, I mean, Lyman's not a great athlete. He showed more than
and
we
for,
thought.
for defensive lineman who's 6'7", he's pretty
You're doing the
athletic.
same
Yeah.
thing with Justin Lane right now, too. I
Right,
think.
exactly.
Yeah.
Justin Lane is hung
Lane's-
around.
Justin Lane, he's gone this
Yeah,
year.
his numbers
I just-
up.
Well, it's his
I-
3rd year too. That's what I'm saying. It's like
Mhm.
most guys, even if they don't show anything their first year, maybe even their 2nd year, they're kind of on the bubble. If the
Right.
Steelers spent a draft pick on them, most guys get 3 training camps. They're not cutting Loudermilk. They're certainly
No.
not cutting Leal.
No,
Nah,
no.
I agree.
And the other thing is like guys that this is Omar, not Kevin, but guys that they have signed in free agency, they typically don't cut. Like it's typically you have an inside track to make this
Right.
roster. Like
Right.
remember, who was the cornerback that we signed the 1 year that no one predicted? Bryce McCain. That was the
Yeah.
same time as the Antoine Blake. Like
Right.
it was almost it was like a $1 million, like just above the minimum signing. Everyone was like, that's just a depth camp body that he's
Yeah.
not going to make the roster.
He was good too. He was
Yeah.
really good.
He was decent. Yeah.
He had a nice
Yeah.
little career
He
there.
was
the
okay
1 year.
for being an undersized guy. He was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
but
6 against Jacksonville, if I recall.
But that was
He's
another
good.
like 1 year, $1 million signing that no one really paid attention to. That I don't know. I feel like at least under Kevin, if he signed you as an outside free agent, he signed you with the intent that you were going to be on the 53-man roster. So I mean, Omar could be different, but the trend with the Steelers has been guys they give contracts to, and Montravius Adams falls under this. They want to keep around.
Yep.
Can we shift gears to a position where we actually really need to worry about depth?
Well, I have it written down right here.
Outside linebacker?
Under the name Genard Avery. Because it appears by everybody I've talked to that he is the clear-cut #1 reserve off the bench to spell either Alex Highsmith or TJ Watt. I don't know what that's saying. We thought it was a good signing. We thought he could be, I think we used the Arthur Moats term, a guy that could maybe do a little bit of everything.
Swing.
But after that, you got two-star
supposedly
skipper.
Derek Tuska is so good, has so much information after being in this defense for a year that he's being pushed by Delonte Scott and probably won't make the team.
Yeah,
Which I guess is good news. But by the same token, it's like, if you couldn't beat Derek Tuska, are you really a guy we want to keep?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I'll say this for Tuska. Tuska's actually a really good athlete. Like,
Oh, yeah.
You guys all know this, that I've done that whole like early impact pass rusher. Like,
Right.
do you check the athletic boxes? Tuska was a guy who checked like 6 of the 8 boxes. Like, he checked a lot of the boxes. Obviously, he hasn't done jack shit in the pros, but like athletically, he checked a lot of the boxes for being able to develop into a good pass rusher.
Well, he's that he's that type of kid. He's got that country strong type thing. You know, being from South Dakota or wherever it was.
North Dakota State. But
Yeah.
Neil Coulon will be all over you for messing that one up.
Well, no, he's originally, I think, from South Dakota.
Okay.
But he did play at North Dakota State.
He did.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes. Coulon would be all over my ass. Yes, he would be.
Shout out to Neil, who loves those North Dakota State Bison.
Yes, he does. Who's going to say something? I thought I heard somebody chiming in there.
Mike Mamulo was a great athlete. Remember that?
Oh, he's the classic.
He checked all kinds of boxes. And
He
got
destroyed the
6th
combine.
overall
Yep.
by the Eagles and did nothing as a pro. And so I don't always.
No.
If a guy checks all the boxes, you go back and you watch his tape.
That almost scares me more than a guy who doesn't.
And a guy who does check all the boxes and you weren't paying attention before that, you got to go back and watch his tape. And if he's productive, then you go, okay, this guy, we obviously overlooked this. Or there's somebody else on his team who's overshadowing him, but he's actually good. You know what I mean? That's the kind of deal.
Sure.
But if you go back and you look at their tape, they didn't really do a lot, or they're playing against subpar competition, North Dakota State, then you kind of take it with a grain of salt. And Derek Tuska as a pass rusher in the NFL is just not impressive. It just isn't. I don't know how else to put it.
Effort's there, and I'll give
Sure.
him that.
He's willing. He's willing.
Yep. I'll give him that.
But, I mean, I'm willing. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and sack any quarterbacks in the NFL.
This is true.
I'm willing to try as hard as I can. That doesn't
Right.
mean shit.
Yeah, I still think, and I'm thinking you guys probably agree, that they're going to find someone on the market here in the next few weeks that gets cut. The first round of cuts, by the way, will be on the 16th. They cut down 90 to 85.
Yeah, there won't be any good guys.
Not there. No.
5 guys in the first round of cuts.
It won't be till the final cut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first cut down will be the guys. It'll be really obvious who's going to get cut. Mason. And then, some other guys on top of that.
What, could you imagine? Now, you want to talk about a tour of
I
firestorm.
only said that to piss me off.
Yes.
Mason will not be in the first round of cuts.
I'm good, I swear.
He probably won't get cut, which really, really annoys me. I really, 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 really hope that somebody needs a quarterback really bad, and they're willing to give up a 6th round pick for him.
I've been saying this for months now, and you all didn't listen.
What?
I think Ian was on my side.
About what? Trading him?
Dad and Ben were like, "You're an idiot."
For what?
For what?
Mason.
Saying what? That you want to keep him?
No, I just said that he's going to be around. I literally said said that he was going to be first team OTAs, and you're like, he's not. And then he's still fucking here, and he's in the hunt. I mean, he's in the hunt.
He's like a bad penny.
Okay, like we talked about this week on Slack in the Mean Girl chat.
Oh boy,
there it is.
Team Girl Squad.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very mean chat. It's fucking ruthless.
It's actually not.
Like we talked about this week. Well, we drag each other a lot on that chat.
Yeah, we hate it.
Okay, if
Lars.
The other Steelers quarterbacks cannot separate themselves enough from Mason fucking Rudolph, who we know is mediocre as hell, the Steelers quarterbacks aren't that good as a group. Okay? And right now, they're pretty bunched up. They really are.
Yeah, there's not a lot of separation.
It's not super impressive. So Mason fucking Rudolph still being in the hunt, to me, is a horrible thing. It doesn't mean that Mason's grown. It means that nobody else is that good. Because Mason is what he is.
It's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Getting back to the depth, and I say this all the time, is that as the Steelers go, so do other NFL teams, right?
Sounds like a soap opera line.
Yes, it was. Yeah, with Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
The other teams have players and coaches that want to win too, right?
No, they're professionals in that team. They get paid.
Occasionally.
Dick LeBeau used to say that, and so did Tunch Ilkin, rest in peace.
Yep.
So if we're talking about like let's be honest, our biggest fear as a Steelers fan is a certain player that wears the number between 89 and 91 getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's let's just be honest. That is our biggest fear. Like last year against the Lions, when he went down, you could literally hear a pin drop in that stadium. And so
for sure.
So I we talk about depth. of course, you're not going to find another guy on the street that's going to get you 20 sacks, but I don't think.
No, you're not.
Oh yeah, of course. But the guys,
You're not even gonna find guys in the first round of the draft to get you 20. Go on.
But the guys after him might not even combine for 20 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Alex Highsmith is a decent player, but he's not getting you that.
I think Alex might get you 9 or 10 this year, which
maybe
I think would be remarkable.
I would argue he's got to get you that.
I'm not going to argue that.
I will.
I would argue that the defense as a whole has got to get 50, 55, 17 games. Let's call it 53.
They've led the league in sacks 5 straight years.
I know. And they probably will again this year because they just believe in total pressure all the time. Yeah, that's great. But I think that Highsmith can be a guy who gets you. I think he's going to be either at double digits, like right around it, 10 or 11, or just below, like 9.
Okay. But then
Highsmith had 6 last year, so yeah, I could see 8 or 9 this year.
The Bud Dupree jump, if you will.
Yeah, I'd go.
Well, he's a better athlete, dude. I mean, he's a way better athlete.
No denying.
The third year, you guys know I've done a lot of research on pass rushers.
We go, baby.
The third and fourth year are usually the peak of a pass rusher's career. Like that's
right.
when guys hit the double-digit sack mark, it's usually in like the third, fourth, or fifth year of their career. If they don't hit it by that point, they're not getting there, most likely. But if that's usually like it's rare for it to be the first or second year. Those are the truly special guys. But third, fourth, and fifth is when guys usually hit it. So if Highsmith's going to hit it, if I was a gambler, which I'm not, but I'd put the over under at like 8.5 and let people try.
I agree.
Yeah,
I like it.
And I take the over.
One thing that has kind of flown under the radar, if I move to the Steelers secondary for a minute, would you guys give Cam Sutton an extension? He's in the last year of his deal.
I would talk to him about it. No, I would talk to him about it. He's undercompensated.
Yeah,
and he's going to be looking for a big payday next year because
I think so too.
Inside and outside.
He's going to get it.
He can play inside and outside,
yep.
and that's a rarity now in the league because he can do both well. He's not a great tackler, but he's competent and he's willing.
Yeah. Well, I asked that because right now, when they're in base, he's on the outside, and as we all know, teams are in base less and less all the time.
Yeah.
So that means he's inside more than he's outside, and typically they pay outside better. I just am curious as to how that goes because Tomlin loves the kid, speaks very highly of him.
He's always been a smart guy. I mean, I remember when he was drafted.
That's the other thing. He can play safety as well.
Yep.
Yeah, when he was drafted, we all said like this guy has a career as a defensive coordinator down the line after his playing career is over.
Good
that
point.
Like he just understands the way defense works. The issue with him has always been physicality. That is he willing to stick his nose in there against the run, which is why we have a guy like Arthur Millette to play like that sort of strong slot that can blitz. Mm-hmm. And then you have Sutton playing more of the sort of coverage slot role. Like in coverage, Sutton is great. He can play zone. He can play man. Yeah, he can move back to safety. I mean, there were times last year they lined him up in the slot and rolled him back to safety and rolled Minka up into like a robber position. And I think one of them. No, never mind. That wasn't last year. That was 2 years ago. I was thinking of the pick against Deshaun Watson. That was 2 years ago.
I didn't realize they had 3 Boyd years on his contract.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I want to give Hall of Famer Rick a little shout here too. He was telling me last season when I was in Pittsburgh, and he said Cam Sutton is the nicest guy that he's met with the Steelers. Right. And just could not stop talking about what a great guy he was. And I know Rick posted a photo just last week, I think, with him when he was at camp and stuff. And, nice guys do not necessarily mean victories or championships or anything like that, but it's good to know you have those kind of people on your organization too.
Well,
he recently said that there are no conversations right now.
Right.
And we talked about earlier, like, do you just give the polite answer or do you? So I don't like those. That's another time where I don't mind that he said that because, I know again we're under a different regime with Omar in there,
Yep.
but I do think that because he is very valuable in a variety of ways. I do think that he's a guy like he's not the same position, but he's like a Mike Hilton that I just don't know if they're going to offer or even be able to get to that type of agreement. And that's just business. That it really is. And everybody got pissed at Mike Hilton last year for waving bye or pick six in Roethlisberger. Like,
Yeah.
the Steelers could have re-signed them and
Yep.
they didn't. So like that's just the way it goes. So
Yeah, I mean that's free agency. It's modern sports these days,
and I like that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it is what it is.
You
There's
can't
nothing
keep
we as
everybody.
fans can. Yeah. Real quick, Scarps, I want to get your thought on who's this guy that's the new assistant to Art Rooney too, coming over from the Penguins.
Oh,
David Morehouse.
Yeah, Mr. Morehouse, the assistant to the traveling secretary or something like that.
No. This is not assistant to the general manager. This is not Dwight Schrute by any means. No.
you guys realize that right now Cam Sutton is the 43rd highest paid wide receiver. He's tied for 43rd corner, excuse me.
Yeah.
In the NFL.
Cortland Sutton.
No,
Cam Sutton.
Oh,
Cam Sutton.
Cam
Sutton is 43rd
Right.
highest paid.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that is a crime?
Too low.
Too low.
I mean, even if you're 32nd, at least you're in the realm of the top 32 guys.
Right.
You're a starter for an NFL team. This is a guy who plays better than 90% of the defensive snaps.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's going to be very curious.
I think it's
something
gonna,
they should be talking about.
Well, I think to Ryan's point too, it's a new regime with Omar. Kevin never negotiated contracts during the season, right? Is Omar going to change that?
That wasn't Kevin's policy. That's the Steelers' policy.
Right.
Well, but I mean, Omar's their guy. If he says, "Hey, we need to re-sign this guy," I mean, Dan's not around anymore either. As much
That's
as
true. Dan's gone.
No, you're right.
You're right, and things do evolve. The Steelers have been guaranteeing a great deal more money.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've abandoned their policy of only guaranteeing the signing bonus and not do it anymore. Yeah. So things are changing. Things are evolving. No question.
Yeah. So what I was getting to was both Levi Wallace and Akilla Weatherspoon are on 2-year contracts right now in the first year.
Yep.
Cam Sutton is now in the second year of his 2-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
If we get halfway through the season and one of those guys, Witherspoon, Wallace, pick your poison. I'll just say Wallace, just as an example, right?
Sure.
Let's say Wallace is terrible and gets benched for Sutton. Then do you say, hey, shit, maybe we need to re-sign Sutton?
Sutton's starting, and Witherspoon and Wallace are competing for the other spot.
Are you sure?
That's what I've seen as of the latest, Ian. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
yep. It's Wallace v. Witherspoon.
Yeah, but then when you move into your nickel, which is your most common one, then it's
right.
Sutton in the slot.
Exactly. Then it's Sutton in the slot, and those two guys are on the field.
Right. Well, okay, but you're in nickel 74, 75% of your defense. Yep. So if one of those guys is getting torched and you have to move Sutton back to the outside and put Mollett on the inside, then do you say like
Tucker?
Yeah, you say Tucker. Tucker.
Oh, wow.
Tucker, shut up. But what I'm saying is, like, let's say you're in nickel so much. Let's say Wallace sucks, right? I don't think he will. I think he'll be all right. But let's just say, for sake of example, he blows, and you have to keep Sutton on the outside and play Mollett on the inside. Then you start to say, like, oh shit, like maybe Wallace is only on a 2-year deal. We can cut him next year with minimal cap hit. Maybe we need to make sure Sutton's here next year. Then you think about like approaching Cam Sutton mid-season, being like, "Hey, you want to sign an extension here and like keep this thing going?" because you're going to be our starter of the future.
I'm trying to think of a time when something similar like that happened with the Steelers.
I don't think it has.
I don't either.
I mean, they've made changes at defensive back, but I don't know about in a contract year, right? Like they benched Dwayne Washington for Deshae Townsend.
Toast.
Yeah. Dwayne Washington, who I used to joke was going to open a furniture store that was the home of the 15-yard cushion, but
why didn't you guys tell me my mic was bad?
What are you talking about? We heard you
It
fine.
hasn't been bad.
It was bad, actually. I just
do the whole show over.
I just shifted my settings, and yeah, my mic was bad. I muted it, yelled at my dog, and then Ian yelled at me and said, "You're yelling at your dog."
Yes.
Well, no, we heard the whole thing. That's all part of the show now.
Yeah,
Oh,
you just
great.
didn't mute it.
All right.
I did mute it. I muted the wrong mic. I muted the mic on my head.
I'll send Tucker a residual.
So
Douchebag.
All right, get back. Jesus, get back to David Morehouse. So,
Oh yeah.
Oh, bringing it full circle. All right, good job, Ryan. Ryan's the sober one tonight. If you're keeping score at home,
I'm not. I'm good. Not really.
Okay.
No,
So-
but for David Morehouse,
Oh yeah, the stadium thing.
yeah. So very David Morehouse, predominant figure in the Penguins' success the last since their 3-cup run. Let's just call it that. But he's been there. I think he was with the Penguins like 20 years. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He has partnerships. He is an influencer. He was instrumental in the Penguins getting a new arena. And when you're thinking long term, and I know this is blasphemy, but the Steelers should consider building an indoor stadium. Where that is, I don't know. The Steelers also need to get their own facility. I'm sorry, stop being cheap. You don't need to share shit with Pitt. I'm over all of that. The Steelers outgrew that facility long ago. The Steelers side of the facility is not as nice as Pitt's, which is a joke to me. I would literally walk guys on free agent visits through the weight room, which has definitely been upgraded. The weight room now is really nice, but it's not even like that weight room now is not even like comparable to like Alabama. I can't believe, yeah, that's true. And I literally would walk free agents through the weight room and the weight benches said Super Bowl 40 champions. And this was like 2012, 2013, 2014. And they would literally look at me and be like, didn't y'all win one before or after? Like, didn't y'all have 6? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about that. We're here because of the tradition. And it's like, that shit doesn't fly anymore. Like you have to be state of the art. You have to be modern. And they need their own space, whether that's facility or stadium. And how about this? If you build your own indoor stadium, you could use that as your team headquarters. So it can be your facility, your training camp facility, the place you play games. And no disrespect to Pitt, but bye Pitt. Get your own shit. Do whatever you need to do because we're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So,
all right, I'm going to disagree with Ryan. Only cowards play in indoor stadiums. Football should be played in the elements.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
I agree too.
I see Ryan's reasoning.
That said,
great reasoning.
I understand the point of a bigger of a new stadium. Heinz, whatever the fuck name it is now, Acrisure, was built in 2001. Or opened in 2001. So, generally speaking, stadiums have about a 30-year useful life. So we are getting into that kind of last decade. They've made some upgrades, but they're still arguing with the Sports and Exhibition Authority over like who's going to pay for it. They just got, what is it? $30 million, $20 million from Acrisure for the stadium name, and then they turned to the SEA and like, yeah, you could pay us $3 million to upgrade our.
They got $150 million over 15 years, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. 150.
So $10 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they had the balls
versus $57 million a year over 20 years.
Yeah, and then they had the balls to ask the SEA, which is like taxpayer funded, to spend $3 million on a scoreboard.
That's our money.
Yeah. I'm okay with that because I don't live there. So you guys should, you guys right there in the top, in the diagonal corners that I'm pointing at, you guys should pay for that.
Yeah, it's not taxes. It's
all right. It's other revenues, but it's still
yeah. It's not like out of our paycheck, but like if we go to a game or a show, there's like the fuck you fund.
Yeah.
I get it. Let me just ask you guys.
But to Ryan's
okay?
point, though, I think it's an interesting point.
What I don't understand is this. Okay, in all my time as a manager, I've gone through a number of a hand. Okay,
Burger King's
a few leases with giant Burger King. Fuck you, Mark.
Well, you cut off Ian. Ian had a point.
I've gone through no, but all this shit should be pre-negotiated. It should be in the lease. There should not be a question over who's going to pay for it or who isn't. I mean, I'll give you guys an example. I had to replace a fucking 10-ton AC unit this summer. Okay, it was I don't know, it was $20,000 or something. What do they do? It's already in the lease. It's already worked out. The landlord pays for it. Then they turn around and they add it to CAM charges, and we pay it off over 10 years. It's already agreed. It's already a thing. We already know who's paying for all this shit. Okay? So all of this, there shouldn't be any dispute between the SEA and the Steelers. It should just be a thing where it's like, okay, well, we already agreed on this a long time ago.
Here's the thing, though, Ben. Like, in a private industry of a landlord and a tenant, like this is a
landlord and a tenant.
The tenant can leave, yes, but this is a public landlord that has appointed officials that by political figures that don't give a fuck. So yeah.
Okay, but let me go back to the Morehouse guy.
Wait, can I
go ahead, Ian.
Let him talk.
For Ryan's point. Yeah, but one thing Ryan said though is who knows where it's going to be. Like the Steelers are not bound beyond the Heinz Field tenure to an agreement with the SEA in the city of Pittsburgh or in Allegheny County. We've seen other teams like the 49ers build a stadium pretty friggin' far out from the actual city where their name is from.
Yeah.
Heck, the Jets and Giants are named New York and play in New Jersey. I know it's right across the friggin' bridge, but it's still,
it ain't that easy.
If I mean, if I'm
it's funny that you bring this up. I had a guy approach me today when I was in the gym because I was wearing a Steelers t-shirt. He said, "Hey, are you from Pittsburgh?" I'm like, no, not originally. He says, "Oh, so you've been out there?" Yeah, I've spent some time there, and I lived there for a short period of time. He's like, "Oh, okay." I go to a conference. I host a conference every year in Cranberry, and I love that area. I love it. It's so beautiful out there. I just can't believe it. Blah, 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 blah. And I told him about what Ian was thinking in 15 years about how Washington County would be a lot
Cranberry's
more.
north. Cranberry's in Butler County. Washington County south. Yeah. So Cranberry's north in Butler County. Washington is
Butler
south
County, Washington County, whatever fucking county.
Yeah,
might be more amenable to disputes like this than Allegheny County has been.
And I'm just saying, from a transportation standpoint, the Cranberry area is where I-79 and the Turnpike, which is I-76, intersect.
Major interchanges.
Washington County
Ryan's
has
shaking his head. Yeah. Yes.
Washington County has I-70 and I-79
major interchanges.
Yeah. There's a lot.
What are you guys talking about? I mean, it's not like the freeways in Pittsburgh are difficult or confusing. They give you a whole 100-yard stretch to switch lanes over and get
I miss it every time, too.
Listen, rest in peace, Mr. Rooney, Mr. Dan Rooney. I love that guy. Unbelievable guy. He was the one that was like, we can't be outside the city. We can't.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Rooney's not here anymore.
Right.
Rest in peace. His grandfather did so much for this franchise. Art II is not his dad nor his grandfather.
Right.
And now with David Morehouse here, if they don't look at those options, they're dumb because they will lose out in the long run. Well, there will be no Super Bowl bids. There will be no NFL draft bids. You think Mick Jagger's going to strut his ass out when he's 900 years old in the middle of December?
Will. Yes.
If it was an indoor stadium, he would.
Have you seen the Stones play lately? They're not good anymore.
Well, okay.
The point is, and I don't know if this matters because the SEA is getting the kickback on it, but Billy Joel's at PNC Park tonight. Motley Crue and Poison and Def Leppard are at PNC Park tomorrow night. And then Metallica's at PNC Park on Sunday night or whatever.
Saturday
night,
yeah.
They're not at Heinz Field.
Right.
If there was an indoor stadium, they'd all be there.
No,
Look.
but it is a good point too, though, that like downtown Pittsburgh doesn't have a lot of hotels. They don't have a lot of conventions. Like we have a convention center, but it's not that big compared to other places, which is why they haven't been able to draw a lot of like big conventions here. Excuse me.
The massage therapist convention?
They get the Mark. Hey.
Oh wait, that's in
Cleveland. That's in Cleveland. That's in Cleveland.
Oh, I'm really glad that Mark worked that in.
Yeah.
that is really, really ironic.
Sorry,
It's okay. No, but we have a for a decent sized city in the United States. We don't have a lot of downtown hotels. Like traffic and parking is not great.
Yes. The roads are poorly planned.
No, the roads. Okay, hold on.
They are.
The roads were not planned for automobiles when they were developed. They were developed for like trains and streetcars. And
they were
developed for fucking buggies. There were a bunch of buggy trails. And they just paved them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ian, these outsiders.
I know.
I can talk their shit, man.
Right. I know. But what I'm saying,
I think I've ever been to where I'm like, I can see the place I'm going, but I'm 15 minutes away.
No, you can't get
15 minutes from here, but I can see it with my eyeballs.
Yep. If you learn how to drive in Pittsburgh, you can drive anywhere in the world.
That is true. That is true. But still, what I'm saying is there's a lot of green open space in these other almost second cities. I wouldn't even call them suburbs. Cranberry, Washington. Like there's a lot of space there. You could build a stadium. You could build a lot of hotels. You could also build a lot of your own parking that then the people coming to your games wouldn't be paying the Pittsburgh Parking Authority to park in garages. They'd be paying you as the stadium owner to park in your stadium lots. And
and
you'd be
the parameter is 75-mile radius.
Yeah.
So as long as you have enough, as long as you have
only like 25 miles. That's 75 is huge.
As long as you have enough hotel rooms within a 75-mile radius, that's one of the Super Bowl parameters. So we're talking Grove City. Ian, it might even reach Allegheny, where Ian used to roam the streets.
Exit 147 on 79. What's up?
So I'm saying
very nice outlet mall.
That Pittsburgh right now meets certain parameters to host the Super Bowl. The Steelers could meet certain parameters, but the logistics would be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah,
but if the stadium was bigger and indoors,
do you know what an indoor stadium costs now? Upwards of $2 billion.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that, though.
Well, okay. Two things here, and then we got to get out of here. Number one.
Do we?
We do. The Bears are going through this right now in Chicago. They purchased a huge tunnel of property in what's known as Arlington Heights. It's where they used to have a big horse track. It's all gone. It's all open space. The fans are in an uproar because they think they're going to move from downtown out to the burbs. And the very, very similar thing seems to be this Morehouse guy. And I'll just bring this up again. We've never had this guy, this type of position before, have we? So what? He's got to be there for some reason.
Fucking right.
Yeah. And I tend to think that's it. I'm going to hope with my heart of hearts that it's not about moving out into the burbs, but it's developing something in and around. Maybe they'll build in the parking lot where Three Rivers used to be and then make Heinz Field a parking lot. It just goes back and forth all the time. But I don't know. But
they're going to tear down stage AE. Yeah. No, and the one thing
tell me you're not
are they going to tear
Pittsburgh without telling me?
Yeah.
He's a cowboy.
No, no. The one other thing Morehouse did with the Penguins was he definitely brought a much more, I'll say, like sort of corporate feel to them. And I don't know David Morehouse, but they definitely did a lot more with like marketing and branding and sort of building their, there was some community outreach to it. There's some good things that the Penguins do a lot of really good things in the community. Don't get me wrong. But David Morehouse does a lot of the sort of marketing and branding and sort of more of a corporate feel to it. I mean, Ryan, Ben and Mark, I don't know if you know. I'll talk to Ryan and our listening audience here.
That's what
Going to a game, going to a Penguins game at console or whatever the fuck it is now, PPG Paints, is a lot different than going to a game at what Mellon Arena, the Civic Arena was. Yeah, like it was. You went to a game at the Igloo. There was a decent chance you were either gonna get in a fight or see a fight in the concourse.
But the nachos were better. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying it was much more of a sort of blue collar, rough and tumble kind of atmosphere, whereas console feels much more kind of corporate and polished and well defined and all that. And and some of that's marketing and branding and just how they present themselves. Some of them just how the whole arena is laid out and all the offerings and all that. And I definitely feel like that kind of took off when Morehouse came in. It was around that, I think 2010, 2011 timeframe he started with the Penguins, that there was definitely became a lot more corporate. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a discussion that we'll probably be having for this next several years. As you pointed out, we're into that decade where teams start looking at new stadiums. 30 years seems to be the life cycle. So
that's what Three Rivers was. I mean, Three Rivers was 30 years. So
yeah. By the way, I
really, really hope that Heinz was better constructed than Three Rivers. Truly. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see in 2030.
Yeah, that might be it too. Anyway, I got the Steelers 98, Seahawks 3 on Saturday night.
Oh, and the Ditka is a merciful Ditka.
The Ditka, he's a merciful Ditka. Hey,
should we remind the listeners / watchers that viewers that it's the fucking preseason and the results don't matter?
Yeah,
the results don't fucking matter.
No.
Don't celebrate a win. Don't get too excited by a loss.
By the way, did the Ravens win tonight? They're on a 20-game winning streak.
Yeah. Hey, one other thing to keep an eye out for in the preseason, though, that we've talked about this a lot with quarterbacks, is that and I've said this before, I'll probably say it again. The difference between like just a guy and an elite NFL quarterback is somebody who can get touchdowns in the red zone. So that's something to watch for. Like Mason Rudolph can drive you down the field and get you to the red zone. Can he get you in the end zone, or are you going to kick field goals with him? Mitch Trubisky can throw 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the same friggin' game. Kenny Pickett, I have no idea what he is. So, like, as you're analyzing these quarterbacks, look for who can score touchdowns in the red zone.
Hey, listen,
that's a
Kenny
great point.
Pickett played at Heinz Field, okay? That's all that matters.
He knows the ins and the outs of that, baby.
He knows the conditions.
Yeah.
All right. I got a lot to get to
Pony.
Here. That's it. We're done. We'll talk to you next week.
This thing went off the fucking rails tonight.
It goes off the rails every week. That's why
apologize.
they love us.
No, that was actually me.
Yeah,
it was pretty much Mark's fault. It always is.
It was Mark's fault. Yeah.
Send your hate mail to Steel Dad. At Steel Dad. Hate mail to @Steel Dad.
I'll be sure to reply real soon. Anyway, for these idiots, I'm signing off. Thanks again to Dan at DC4LCustomTees.com. Check it out. Our store is there. Just go to the website, click Steel City Blitz. You'll see all our cool shirts, podcast stuff, and everything else. But again, thank you so much to Deck Roofing, TPPN, and, of course, DraftKings Sportsbook. And that's it for us. And don't forget, kids, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.
Teen Girl Squad.